Well, this is a daily routine for getting the fireplace going. I gotta open the drawer. I have to open the door in the bottom here, get my bucket up close, and scrape out the ash. Now what I do is I hold the bucket under the lip of the fireplace, you probably can't see that angle, and ease the shovel carefully into the ash bucket. Very carefully. Now, let's see what's up top here. Close the drawer. Remove any unburnt wood, which in this case is always a little bit. And I scrape down the ash from the previous fires. I can reopen the bottom door and scoop out the rest of that ash. And if you go very slow, you can lower the shovel into the bucket, let the stuff slide off, and you don't have a mess. You don't get a cloud of ash everywhere. If you hold the bucket up to your shovel, ease the shovel in, let the ash slide off, there's no dust raised. Now I take some papers, dried tissues, dried newspapers, magazines, whatever, crumple them up, let them crumpled nicely. Now if I didn't have magazines or newspapers, I would use leaves, a small tinder, and basically loosely cover the bottom of the stove with the paper material. Sometimes I layer some cardboard on there as well. I've got my little box of tinder. I actually have tiny twigs in the bottom here, which I will put on first. Take your little small super fine stuff. I've already broken up into nice sizes and put it in there. You want it at an angle against the side of the stove on top of the paper so that the air can get underneath it. You want to pack it loosely. I just toss it in actually because this is a small burn chamber. I can just casually toss it in there. No order. And put some bigger stuff on top. You want to get some coals going in there. There's some nicer sized pieces. And that's a good starter. Now I put my lid back on. Then I open my breather on the bottom all the way open, and with this stove I have to actually open that all the way, and then I light the fire underneath. You can see the glow. So I've ignited the fire. close this a little bit, stop sparks from flying out, but I leave this open. I leave this open on this is an old coal stove, so it needs more airflow when I'm starting it. You can see the flame. You can see the flame shooting up through there, and you can hopefully you can hear this roaring. Massive amount of air flowing through this thing. So that's how you start this little fireplace, a little antique wood stove. And then in a couple minutes, I can feel heat pouring off this already. In a couple minutes, when it starts to burn down, I'll throw some medium-sized pieces of wood on, and then some logs. And that's it. There's a nice little fire going in there. That's just 2 small pieces of wood. One isn't much bigger than a twig, it's just a little branch. Actually, you could call both of these branches. And that'll last an hour in this stove. This is now an hour later, the same 2 pieces of wood I showed you, and they're very gently burning. And what I do is I continuously stir this up. I always have to stir up the logs, keep them moving, because the stove is so small. And now I'll toss in another log here. Also, I always have to keep them roughly pointed in the same direction, and that'll burn for another hour. So this is a very efficient stove.